there are very specific allusions in the song to Danny appearing at the cellar door, which I believe is a club in Washington. And, you know, it's got lines like, you know, knocking on my cellar door and stuff like that. It's a very different song from those that followed by Young about drugs. It was quite a very melodic song, very touching, very moving. It does have that image in it which I always found very problematical, that every junkie's like a setting sun. And I think I always said that, you know, a setting sun is one of the most beautiful images in nature. It's not something that you'd normally associate with a sordid junkie. And therein lies the rub, I think. If you project ahead to the album Time Fades Away or Tonight's the Night, in which he again deals with Danny Whitten and his feelings towards it, the images on those songs are very ugly, they're very powerful, they're very dark, and I don't think there's a darkness.
The things that I think people probably don't know about Neil Young is that he did suffer a kind of deep depression in the early to mid 70s. I think he became very disillusioned. I think he found in his personal life things were quite a struggle. His relationships with women were difficult and painful, and that was reflected in the 3 albums known among Neil fans as the Doom trilogy.
When the winter rains come pouring down on that new home of mine, will you think of me and wonder if I'm fine? Will your restless heart come back to mine on a journey through the past? Will I still be in your eyes and on your mind?
Time Fades Away was recorded live on the road, all new songs. But it's like a dress rehearsal for Tonight's the Night. It's a very, dark, jaundiced sort of view of, rock and roll and the counterculture and his own personal sort of feelings about his life. And, for whatever reasons, this is one album that Neil has never countenanced being reissued on CD. It's never been officially reissued. And, it seems that it has something to do with his feelings about that time. It was not a happy tour by any means. I think it's a great record. And then he recorded Tonight's the Night, which is just a fantastic record. It's like a kind of wake, really, for Danny Whitten and also for a roadie who OD'd called Bruce Berry. So it's the title track is a homage, really, to them. The whole album is like this kind of tequila-soaked sort of wake. It's very dragging and down, but extremely beautiful. I think it's a fantastic record. On the Beach is very different, but similarly real downer stuff. It's Neil very alone. Sometimes, Revolution Blues is quite angry. On the Beach is very depressed. Ambulance Blues sort of looks back over his career and is quite sort of bilious about the kind of commercialization of the folk scene. Neil sounds like someone who's kind of very alone at this point. So the Doom trilogy, it's some of his most enduring work, and we all love it. But it's certainly, it's certainly not the kind of happiest time in his life, and he kind of emerges out of that period to record Zuma, where he's clearly, he's described it as himself as emerging from the murk, and it's kind of daylight again after this quite dark 2 or 3 years.
In Love, or the other album might be about the death of a friend or a family member. And Zuma, to me, is a great classic breakup album. Songs like Stupid Girl, Don't Cry No Tears. The song Drive Back is a classic example of a breakup song. Drive back to your old town, I want to wake up with no one around. I mean, it pretty much says it all.
It does suggest that, you know, there's a sort of, this is a rejuvenated Neil. It's one of his great driving guitar tracks. His guitar playing is just sensational on this track. It's absolutely thrilling. It's a sort of pulverizing piece of you know, Crazy Horse rock. I think it's one of his greatest tracks.
Drive Back's just a Neil Young rock song. I think it contains much of his kind of macho posturing at the time. It's Stupid Girl is also on that album, which is another example of Young playing the kind of macho, slightly sexist role, and Drive Back fits into that tradition. It works because it is such a driving rock song, if you'll pardon the pun. I mean, it works very, very well live, and does fit that album, which is almost like I always thought of Zuma as a sort of like a Neil Young sampler. It's got the great Cortez the Killer, it's got the driving rock of Drive Back, and it's got a good few ballads on there as well. And in fact, one of his earliest songs is on there, Don't Cry No Tears, which he wrote when he was a teenager. So it's a bit of all things to all people, and that's probably why people love it so much.
Cortez the Killer, Neil's time travel piece, back into history, a modern day conquistador. It's a killer track. It's the centerpiece of this album. And as he says in the Decade release, banned in Spain.
They seem to have an understanding of the world and life that Neil Young really, really loved to explore, and he still does.
Neil's written 2 or 3 sort of epic tracks, if you like, you know, long tracks that sort of build to kind of frenzied kind of climaxes, if you like, and Cortez the Killer is probably the most famous of them, and it's there's just something very powerful about it, and in its evocation of the damage that the Spanish did to, you know, the indigenous peoples of South America. It makes its anti-colonial point very forcefully, and there's something brilliant about the image of he came dancing across the water.